The sky darkened over New York City at exactly 2:17 p.m. on a Tuesday. It wasn't clouds. It wasn't an eclipse. It was them. Commander Alex Reed stood on the roof of the United Earth Defense Headquarters, his eyes fixed on the massive shape blocking out the sun. The alien ship hung in the air like a mountain turned upside down, its dark metal surface catching no light. Behind him, his team waited in silence, their faces pale. "How many?" Alex asked, his voice steady despite the fear twisting his gut. Lieutenant Davis checked the readings on her tablet. 17 ships, sir, same size, positioned over major cities worldwide. Alex nodded, taking a deep breath of the suddenly cold air. 6 months ago, he had been teaching military strategy at the academy. Now he was facing the first confirmed alien contact in human history, and it didn't look friendly. "Get me a line to Central Command," he ordered, turning away from the impossible sight above. "And someone find out if our satellites can tell us anything about those ships." Inside the command center, chaos had given way to grim efficiency. Screens lined the walls, showing similar scenes from London, Beijing, Moscow, and other cities. The world's militaries were on high alert, but no one had fired. "Not yet." "Sir, we're picking up a signal," called out Communications Officer Ryan, his fingers flying over his keyboard. "It's being broadcast on all frequencies, all channels, even private devices." The main screen flickered, then filled with an image that made Alex's heart skip. The creature on screen was tall, with gray-blue skin that seemed to shimmer like oil on water. Its eyes were large, completely black, and showed no emotion. "People of Earth." It spoke in perfect English, its voice deep and echoing. "We are the Voidwalkers. We have observed your kind for centuries. You have potential, but you waste it on war and greed. Your time of independence has ended. You will now serve a greater purpose under our guidance." The alien paused, its head tilting slightly. "You have 48 hours to dismantle your weapons, dissolve your governments, and prepare to receive our representatives. Kneel, and you will survive. Resist, and you will be eradicated." The screen went black. The room erupted in voices until Alex slammed his hand on the table. "Enough, get me the president now." In the underground lab of the Pentagon, military analyst James Walker stared at lines of code scrolling across his screen. He hadn't slept in 24 hours, not since the ships arrived. Coffee cups surrounded his workspace like a miniature city. "Found anything?" asked Dr. Miller, the head scientist, her eyes red from lack of sleep. James rubbed his face. "Maybe. Their broadcast signal used our own satellites to boost the message. That means they had to connect to our systems first. And nobody breaks into a house without leaving footprints." James turned his screen to show her. "See these packets of data? They're not part of the message. They're command signals to their fleet. All 17 ships received the same instructions, at once." Dr. Miller leaned closer. "They're using our infrastructure for their own communications." "Yes. They're powerful, but they're efficient. Why build their own network when they can hijack ours?" James highlighted a section of code. "And here's the interesting part. All their ships sync to a master frequency. It's like they're all parts of one big machine. Is that useful to us?" James allowed himself a small smile. "If we can disrupt that sync, we might be able to throw a wrench in their plans. I need a team and access to all radio telescopes we can control." The emergency United Nations session was the shortest in history. Representatives from 195 nations gathered virtually as the alien ships loomed overhead. President Morgan of the United States stood at the podium in New York, her face resolute despite the shadow of the ship above the building. "They demand our surrender," she said simply. "They expect us to kneel without a fight. Some of my advisors suggest we should comply, at least temporarily." The Russian president's voice came through clearly. "And what do you suggest, Madam President?" Morgan's eyes hardened. "Humanity has never prospered under the boot of tyrants. I suggest we show these Voidwalkers that Earth is not theirs to claim." A murmur ran through the assembly. The Chinese premier spoke next. "Our military analysis suggests their technology far exceeds our own. Fighting could mean extinction. So could surrender. Morgan replied. We have intercepted communications between their ships. Our analysts believe they have found a potential weakness. On screens around the world, James Walker's findings were displayed. As he explained the synchronization vulnerability, faces changed from despair to cautious hope. We need time, Morgan continued. I propose we send a message requesting an extension of their deadline. We ask questions, express confusion, anything to buy our scientists more time while we secretly prepare. The vote was unanimous. Alex Reed watched the alien response from the war room. The same Voidwalker appeared, looking almost amused. Your request for clarification is noted. We will extend the deadline by 24 hours. Your questions reveal your primitive understanding. Know this. 63 civilizations have joined our collective. None have regretted their decision, because we eliminated those who would. As the message ended, Alex turned to the president. They're overconfident. Good. Morgan nodded. How's Walker's team progressing? They've identified the exact frequency, patterns. They think they can create a disruption device, but they need more time and resources. They have both. I've authorized everything they need. The president looked around the room at the military leaders gathered there. We need to prepare our people for what's coming. Some cities may be lost before we can implement Walker's plan. General Thompson, a veteran of 3 wars, spoke up. We should evacuate major cities, move people underground where possible, and our official response to their demand? Asked the Secretary of State. Morgan stood straighter. We're almost out of time. We send it now. She stepped to the microphone and spoke the words that would define humanity's future. Voidwalkers, we have received your demands. We have studied your ships. We have considered our options. Here is humanity's answer. We stand, we fight, we survive. Earth will never kneel. In his lab, James Walker heard the president's message and worked faster. His team had built 3 prototype disruptors. If they worked, they would scramble the sync signal between alien ships, potentially disabling their coordinated functions. How long until they respond? Asked his assistant. James checked his watch. If they keep to their timeline, about 5 minutes. 4 minutes later, the sky above New York lit up with energy as the alien ship fired its first weapon. The blast destroyed the top floors of 3 skyscrapers. Similar reports came in from other cities. The invasion had begun, but humanity had made its choice. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the aliens were about to learn that humans don't break easily. In fact, they fight hardest when pushed to the edge. The war for Earth had just begun. Night fell across what remained of Washington, D.C. Fires burned in the government district where the Voidwalkers had focused their first attack. 3 hours had passed since President Morgan's defiant message, and the aliens had responded with swift violence. But they hadn't destroyed everything. They were being careful, strategic. This wasn't blind rage, it was calculated intimidation. Commander Alex Reed walked through the underground bunker that now served as the temporary White House. Military personnel rushed past him carrying equipment and reports. The world's resistance was organizing faster than anyone had expected. Commander, a voice called out. Alex turned to see President Morgan emerging from the communications room. Her face streaked with dust, but her eyes clear and determined. Madam President, Alex saluted. Are you hurt? I'm fine. She waved off his concern. What's the status of Walker's project? Alex fell into step beside her as they moved deeper into the bunker. He's made progress. The disruption theory checks out in simulations. They're building more devices now, but we need a way to deploy them. They entered the war room where screens showed the devastation across major cities. Paris was burning. Tokyo had lost power. But strangely, the aliens seemed to be avoiding maximum damage. They were taking out military installations, government buildings, and communication centers, but civilian casualties were lower than expected. They want us intact, Morgan observed. Not dead, but broken. Slaves need to be alive to work, General Thompson added grimly from his position at the main table. The president addressed the room. I've spoken with other world leaders. Russia, and China have moved their commands underground. Europe is coordinating a unified defense. We stand together. She took a deep breath. Now I need options. How do we hurt them back? In the lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, James Walker connected the final wire on the fifth disruption device. Each one was about the size of a microwave, with antennas arranged in a specific pattern to broadcast the counter frequency. Will 5 be enough? Asked Dr. Miller as she checked the power cells. No, James admitted. But it's a start. If they work as expected, we can build more. He wiped sweat from his forehead. The real problem is getting them close enough to the alien ships. The signal needs to be strong. The door to the lab slid open, and a tall, thin man in an Air Force uniform entered. That's where I come in, he said. Colonel Frank West, Special Operations. James stood up straighter. Colonel. At ease, West said with a small smile. I understand you've built something that might give us a fighting chance. Maybe, James said cautiously. If we can get them within half a mile of each ship. West nodded. My team specializes in impossible deliveries. Show me what we're working with. As James explained the technology, Dr. Miller received an alert on her tablet. Her face paled. They've started landing ground forces. New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, all reporting alien troops. The first Voidwalker to set foot on Earth stepped from a smaller craft that descended from the mothership above New York. It stood nearly 7 feet tall, its body protected by armor that seemed to flow like liquid metal. 5 more followed, each carrying weapons that hummed with energy. A small group of human soldiers had established a barricade nearby, ordered to observe but not engage. Lieutenant Davis peered through binoculars, reporting back to Commander Reed via a secure line. They're moving toward the financial district, she whispered. 6 of them, sir. They seem to be scanning buildings. Stay hidden, Alex ordered through the comm. Do not engage unless directly threatened. But the Voidwalkers weren't interested in fighting. Not yet. They moved with purpose toward the New York Stock Exchange building. One placed a device on the main entrance. The doors slid open despite the security lockdown. They're accessing our financial data, Alex realized, turning to his team at headquarters. They're gathering intelligence, figuring out how our world works. Similar reports came in from other cities. The aliens were targeting key infrastructure, power plants, water treatment facilities, data centers. They weren't destroying them, they were studying them. They're planning for occupation, President Morgan said when Alex reported this pattern. Not extinction. That gives us time, Alex replied. And time is what we need. 3 days after first contact, the resistance began. Colonel West's team deployed the first disruption device in Chicago. They used a modified drone, flying it close to the underside of the hovering alien ship before activating the signal. James Walker watched the live feed from his lab, holding his breath. If this works, he whispered, we'll see a reaction within 30 seconds. 28 seconds later, the alien ship shuddered. Its smooth hovering pattern became irregular. Lights flickered across its surface. Then, to everyone's amazement, it began to sink slowly toward the ground. Cheers erupted in the command center. But James raised a hand for silence. It's not crashing, he warned. It's making a controlled descent. We didn't disable it completely, just disrupted its hover systems. Still, it was the first sign that the Voidwalkers could be hurt. The news spread across resistance channels worldwide. In London, as the alien ship touched down in Hyde Park, something unexpected happened. A group of civilians, ignoring evacuation orders, rushed the landed vessel. Military commanders watched in horror, expecting the humans to be slaughtered. Instead, they reached the ship before the Voidwalkers could respond. Using improvised explosives, they breached a lower section of the hull. Most died in the assault. But 3 made it inside. Who are they? President Morgan demanded, watching the grainy footage. Former military, came the reply. British Special Forces who volunteered for a suicide mission. Not suicide, Alex corrected. They're carrying cameras. For 40 precious minutes, those cameras transmitted images from inside the alien vessel. Corridors of flowing metal. control systems that responded to touch, and most importantly, void walkers without their armor. The aliens were physically weaker than humans had expected. Their superiority lay in their technology, not their bodies. When the transmission finally cut off, the command center was silent. Then General Thompson spoke what everyone was thinking: they can be killed. James Walker studied the footage obsessively. "Look at their technology," he told Dr. Miller. "It's all connected. The ship responds to them like it's alive." "Some kind of neural interface," she suggested. "Exactly. And if they need to sync with their ships..." He looked up, eyes wide with realization. "We don't just need to disrupt ship-to-ship communication. We need to disrupt their connection to their own technology." As he spoke, reports came in of another alien landing, this time at a major technology research center in Japan. The Voidwalkers were gathering Earth's most advanced tech. They're not just studying us, James realized. They're looking for something specific. President Morgan received the news with grim determination. "Then we need to find it first. Whatever they want, we need to either destroy it or use it against them." The resistance was growing stronger. Underground networks formed as people shared information and resources. Humanity was adapting, learning to fight an enemy they barely understood. Cities burned, but hope hadn't died. And somewhere in England, a captured alien ship held secrets that might turn the tide of war. 2 weeks after the Voidwalkers arrived, Earth was a different world. Major cities stood partially destroyed, with alien patrols moving through streets once filled with human life. But the invaders had not won yet. Not by far. Deep in the mountains of Colorado, Commander Alex Reed looked at a map showing resistance cells across the globe. Thousands of blinking lights represented groups fighting back against the alien occupation. "Operation Defiance is ready," he told President Morgan, who had aged years in mere days. "Walker's disruption technology has been distributed to every major resistance hub." Morgan nodded, the weight of humanity's survival heavy on her shoulders. "What's the success rate in testing?" 87%, Alex replied. "The devices work, Madam President. When activated simultaneously, they should create enough interference to disable their ship's systems for approximately 15 minutes. 15 minutes to change the course of human history," she said quietly. "Let's make them count." Engineer Tom Rogers had never considered himself a hero. Before the invasion, he had been working on clean energy systems for a small tech company. Now he was putting the finishing touches on what might be humanity's most important weapon. "The sync disruptors are brilliant," he told James Walker as they worked side by side in the underground facility. "But I've been thinking, what if we could do more than just disrupt their signals? What if we could hijack them?" James looked up from his computer. "Hijack? You mean take control of their systems?" Tom nodded excitedly. "The footage from inside their ship shows they use some kind of neural interface. Their tech responds to them. But it's still technology, signals, frequencies, code. And code can be hacked." James finished, understanding dawning on his face. "What do you need?" "Time," Tom said grimly. "Which is the one thing we don't have." The alarm sounded before James could respond. Red lights flashed throughout the facility. The Voidwalkers had found them. The attack on the mountain facility was swift and precise. Alien craft smaller than the motherships, fighters the humans called them, blasted through the outer defenses. Troops poured in through the breach, their liquid metal armor flowing around them as they moved. "Evacuate all personnel through the emergency tunnels," Alex ordered over the comm system. "Priority 1 is getting Walker and Rogers out with their research." He grabbed his rifle and joined a group of soldiers forming a defensive position. The aliens moved with frightening efficiency, their weapons firing bursts of energy that melted through concrete walls, but the humans had been preparing. As the first Voidwalker turned the corner, Alex activated one of the disruption devices. The alien's armor suddenly froze, becoming rigid and heavy. Without its technology functioning properly, the creature stumbled, vulnerable for crucial seconds, long, enough for human bullets to find the weak spots beneath. "They work!" a soldier shouted. "The disruptors work against their armor too." Hope surged through the defenders. For every human that fell, they took down 3 aliens. It wasn't enough to win this battle, but it proved something vital. The Void Walkers could be fought. They could be beaten. Dr. Miller led James and Tom through the escape tunnels, carrying hard drives containing all their research. Behind them, the sounds of battle echoed through the mountain. "We need to get to the backup facility in Nevada," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "President Morgan is waiting there with the prototype." "What prototype?" James asked, breathing hard as they ran. "The one built from parts taken from the captured ship in London," she replied. "It's what the Void Walkers have been searching for, why they hit our facility so hard." As they emerged from the tunnel exit hidden among trees, a military helicopter waited, rotors already spinning. Colonel West waved them in urgently. "Did Alex make it out?" James asked as they lifted off. West's grim expression answered before his words did. Commander Reed stayed behind to ensure the evacuation. His last transmission said to proceed with Operation Defiance no matter what. The Nevada facility was smaller but better hidden. President Morgan greeted them personally when they arrived, her eyes red but determined. Commander Reed's sacrifice will not be in vain, she told them. "We've received confirmation the attack on your facility wasn't isolated. They've struck at every major resistance center we know about." "They're scared," Tom said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. "Think about it. Why commit so many resources to wiping us out now? Because they know we've found their weakness." Morgan nodded. "And that's why we're accelerating the timetable. Operation Defiance begins in 12 hours. She led them to a secure room where a strange device sat on a pedestal. It looked both alien and human. Voidwalker technology merged with Earth engineering. "This is what we pulled from the ship in London," Morgan explained. "Their central navigation system. With it, we can not only disrupt their ships but potentially take control of one." James stared at the device. "That's why they've been searching our tech centers. They're looking for compatible systems they can use to enhance their control over their own technology." "Exactly," Morgan confirmed. "And now we're going to use it against them." Operation Defiance began at dawn. Across the world, resistance fighters moved into position near alien ships. Each team carried disruption devices, waiting for the signal. In orbit, the remains of Earth's satellite network had been reprogrammed for one crucial broadcast. In Nevada, Tom Rogers made the final adjustments to the hybrid device. "It's ready," he told the president. "When this activates, it will send the disruption signal to every satellite, which will then amplify it worldwide." "And the captured ship?" Morgan asked. "If our modifications work, the signal should override their systems rather than just disrupting them. We'll have control, temporarily." Morgan looked around at the faces of humanity's last hope. "Begin the countdown." At precisely 7 a.m. GMT, Operation Defiance launched. The hybrid device activated, sending its signal to the satellites. Across the globe, every Voidwalker ship suddenly shuddered. Their smooth surfaces rippled as if in pain. The smaller craft fell from the sky, crashing into empty buildings and open fields. The mothership's lights flickered and died. In London, where the first ship had been captured, something remarkable happened. The alien vessel that had rested in Hyde Park for days suddenly powered up. Its entry ramp lowered. Colonel West led a team inside expecting resistance. Instead, they found the ship's systems responding to human commands. On screens throughout the vessel, alien text shifted and changed, translating itself into English. "No." "Worked," West breathed, activating his comm. "Madam President, we have control of the London ship. I repeat, we have control." Similar reports came in from other locations. The disruption was working better than anyone had hoped. The Voidwalkers, cut off from their technology, were vulnerable. Human forces struck back, capturing alien weapons and turning them against their former owners. For the first time since the invasion began, the aliens retreated. In the captured London ship, James Walker and Tom Rogers worked frantically to understand the alien systems before their advantage disappeared. "Look at this," James called out, pointing to a screen displaying what appeared to be star maps. "These are navigation charts. Coordinates. To what? Tom asked, joining him. To their homeworld, James said, his voice filled with wonder and determination. And to every planet in their empire. As the 15-minute window of disruption ended, the humans had gained something the Void Walkers never expected to give them. A way to take the fight beyond Earth. The tide of war had turned. Humanity would no longer just defend, they would attack. 1 month after Operation Defiance, the war for Earth had reached a stalemate. The Void Walkers still controlled much of the planet's surface, but humanity had carved out safe zones, protected by disruption field generators. The aliens could no longer simply overwhelm humans with their technology. In the captured ship now housed in a massive hangar beneath the Nevada desert, Captain Lisa Reed stood before a group of volunteers. The sister of the fallen Commander Alex Reed, she had taken up his mission with fierce determination. This ship, she said, her voice echoing in the cavernous space, has been renamed the Reckoning. It is humanity's first starship, and you are its first crew. The 50 men and women before her represented the best Earth had to offer. Pilots, soldiers, scientists, and engineers from nations around the world. The mission is simple but dangerous, Lisa continued. We will travel to the Voidwalker homeworld using their own navigation system. We will gather intelligence, make contact with any potential allies, and if possible, bring back technology that can help us drive them from Earth forever. James Walker stepped forward. The ship's systems are now fully under our control, thanks to Tom Rogers' interface technology. We've learned enough of their language to operate it, and the engines are ready. President Morgan entered the hangar, her presence silencing the gathered crew. What you are about to attempt has never been done in human history, she said solemnly. You will travel farther than any human has ever gone, face dangers we cannot imagine, and carry with you the hopes of everyone on this planet. She looked at each of them in turn. Some of you, perhaps many of you, will not return. But know this. You go not just as soldiers or explorers, but as the first ambassadors of a united Earth. 3 days later, the Reckoning lifted off from Earth under cover of darkness. Tom Rogers had modified the ship's external appearance using adaptive camouflage technology reverse-engineered from Voidwalker armor. From a distance, it would appear to be just another alien vessel. Inside the bridge, Lisa took her place in the captain's chair. Around her, the human crew worked at stations, designed for beings with very different bodies. They had adapted quickly, using modified interfaces where needed. All systems ready, reported the engineer at the propulsion station. Disruption field is active. No signs of alien detection. Lisa nodded. Take us up, slow and steady. The ship rose through the atmosphere, passing the debris of satellites and the remaining Voidwalker vessels in orbit. For a tense few minutes they waited to see if they would be challenged. Nothing happened. They think we're one of them, James said from his station where he monitored communications. The camouflage is working. Lisa allowed herself a small smile. Set course for the first jump point. Let's see if this thing can really travel between stars. The Voidwalker's navigation system indicated a specific point in space far beyond the orbit of Mars. As they approached it, sensors detected an unusual energy pattern. It looks like some kind of fold in space, reported the science officer. Similar to the theoretical models for wormholes, but artificially created. This is how they traveled to Earth so quickly, James realized. They have a network of these jump points connecting their empire. Lisa gripped the arms of her chair. Take us through. Standard alert status. The ship accelerated toward the jump point. For a moment, the view screen showed a strange distortion, then blackness, followed by a field of unfamiliar stars. Jump complete, announced the navigation officer. According to the ship's data, we're 27 light-years from Earth. A stunned silence fell over the bridge. Humanity had just traveled a distance that would have taken conventional spacecraft centuries in mere seconds. Check the star maps, Lisa ordered, recovering quickly. How many more jumps to the Voidwalker homeworld? 3, came the reply. But there's something else. The navigation system shows dozens of other inhabited worlds connected by this network. Some are marked differently from others. James studied the data closely. I think the ones marked in red are conquered worlds, planets like Earth that have been absorbed into their empire. And the others? Lisa asked. Possibly allies, or maybe future targets. The second jump brought them to a system with 3 habitable planets. The ship's database identified them as part of the Voidwalker Empire for over 200 years. Should investigate, suggested Dr. Miller, who had insisted on joining the mission. This could be our chance to understand what happens to worlds after the Voidwalkers take over. Lisa considered the risk. We'll maintain orbit around the outermost planet. Passive scans only. I don't want to alert anyone to our presence. The scans revealed something unexpected. The planets were heavily industrialized with massive mining operations and manufacturing centers, but the biological readings showed diverse species, not just Voidwalkers. They're using these worlds as factory planets, James said, as he analyzed the data. And those readings suggest slave labor. Dr. Miller pointed to another set of readings. Look at these transmission patterns. The planets are communicating with each other, but on frequencies hidden from the main Voidwalker network. An underground resistance, Lisa realized, even after centuries of occupation. The decision was made quickly. Lisa authorized a small team to take one of the ship's shuttles to the surface, disguised as a routine Voidwalker patrol. James volunteered to lead it. On the surface of the third planet, James and his team made contact with the resistance. The beings they met were physically different from humans, 6-limbed with iridescent skin. But the look in their eyes was achingly familiar. Determination, defiance, and hope, nearly extinguished but still burning. Their leader called himself Traz. You are not Voidwalkers, he said when they revealed themselves. What manner of beings are you? We're humans from a planet called Earth, James explained. The Voidwalkers invaded our world, but we're fighting back. We've captured one of their ships and followed their jump network here. Traz's eyes widened. You resist? And you can control their technology? The concept seemed almost impossible to him. No species has successfully fought them in 1,000 years. James showed him images of Operation Defiance, the disruption technology, the captured ships, the human counterattack. We found a weakness in their systems, and we're looking for allies. Traz conferred with his people in their own language. Finally, he turned back to James. There are others like us, many worlds where resistance still lives, hidden beneath the surface. We have communicated in secret for generations, waiting for an opportunity. Now you have one, James said. We're going to the Voidwalker homeworld. If we can strike at the heart of their empire, they would weaken everywhere, Traz finished. Their control systems are centralized. That is how they maintain power. Over so many worlds. Before James left, Traz gave him a data crystal. This contains communication frequencies for resistance movements on 12 worlds. Tell them the long night ends. They will understand. Back on the Reckoning, Lisa listened to James's report with growing excitement. So we're not alone in this fight. Far from it, James replied. There's an entire network of oppressed species waiting for someone to lead them against the Voidwalkers. And they've just found their leader, Dr. Miller said, looking at Lisa. Humanity. Lisa studied the star map where the path to the Voidwalker homeworld glowed brightly. Send messages on those frequencies. Tell every resistance cell what we're planning. She straightened in her chair. The Voidwalkers wanted Earth to kneel. Instead, we're going to build an alliance that will end their empire forever. The Reckoning prepared for its next jump, one step closer to the heart of enemy territory. The Voidwalker homeworld hung in space like a dark jewel. Unlike Earth with its blues and greens, this planet was mostly black and purple, with strange glowing patterns visible even from orbit. Massive structures extended from the surface into space, a civilization that had outgrown its planetary origins. On the bridge of the Reckoning, Captain Lisa Reed watched the alien world grow larger on the view screen. The ship had completed its final jump an hour ago, arriving at the edge of the system before moving inward using conventional propulsion. Any sign they've detected us? She asked. None so far, replied the tactical officer. Our disguise is holding. They're registering us as a returning patrol ship. Next to Lisa, James Walker studied the incoming data with growing excitement. There's more activity here than I expected. Hundreds of ships moving in and out. This isn't just their homeworld, it's the center of their entire empire. Dr. Miller joined them, pointing to a specific reading. Look at that energy signature. It's consistent with what we saw at the jump points, but much stronger. I think their whole network is controlled from here. Lisa nodded. Which means if we can disrupt it, we could cut off their entire empire, James finished. Every Voidwalker ship on every conquered world, including Earth, would be isolated. The communications officer turned suddenly. Captain, we're receiving transmissions from the resistance networks. 12 worlds have risen up simultaneously, just as planned. The Voidwalkers are pulling ships back to deal with the rebellions. A tight smile formed on Lisa's lips. Perfect timing. The distraction will make our approach easier. She turned to address the bridge crew. This is the moment we've been preparing for. Our mission is clear. Locate the central control hub and deploy our upgraded disruption technology. She touched the badge on her uniform, one that had belonged to her brother. For Earth. For Commander Reed. For every world that refused to kneel. The reckoning moved through the crowded orbital lanes of the Voidwalker homeworld. Traffic control directed them to a docking station near one of the massive space elevators. As they approached, the crew held their breath, knowing discovery would mean instant destruction. Docking procedure initiated, reported the helmsman. Their automated systems are taking control. Let them, Lisa ordered. Maintain our disguise, until we're secure. The ship settled into a massive docking bay alongside dozens of similar vessels. Through the viewports they could see Voidwalkers moving about, unaware that their enemies had arrived at the heart of their empire. Security teams, prepare for deployment, Lisa commanded. Science team, pinpoint the location of the central control hub. We'll have a limited window once we begin. James studied the data flowing through the ship's systems. Now that they were connected to the main network, they could access far more information. I've found it, he said after several tense minutes. The control hub is located in the central tower. It's heavily guarded, but what? Lisa prompted. But they never expected anyone to reach this far. Their security is focused outward, not inward. Tom Rogers, who had spent the journey refining his interface technology, spoke up. I've completed the final modifications to our disruptors. Instead of simply jamming their systems, these will inject a virus into their network. One that will spread to every connected ship and installation. How long until it takes effect? Lisa asked. Once deployed? Minutes. But someone has to physically reach the central hub. Lisa's expression hardened. Then that's what we'll do. The infiltration team consisted of 12 humans wearing modified Voidwalker armor. The liquid metal flowed around them uncomfortably, but it provided perfect camouflage. Lisa led them through the vast structure, following James's directions transmitted from the ship. 2 levels up, his voice came through their earpieces. There should be a main transport tube. It will take you directly to the central tower. The alien city was both beautiful and terrifying. Structures seemed to flow rather than stand, with technology integrated into every surface. Voidwalkers moved with purpose, never suspecting the threat in their midst. They reached the transport tube, without incident. As they stepped onto the platform, a true Voidwalker approached them. It spoke in the clicking, humming language of its kind. Lisa froze, but Tom had prepared for this. A small device at her throat translated her whispered words into Voidwalker speech. Routine maintenance inspection, she replied. The alien stared at them for a long moment. Then it moved away, apparently satisfied. That was close, one of the team whispered as they entered the transport tube. Stay focused, Lisa replied. We're not done yet. The central tower rose like a black spire in the heart of the alien capital. As they ascended its levels, the team encountered heavier security. Elite Voidwalker guards with advanced weapons and armor. We can't avoid them all, Lisa realized. Prepare for combat. When the first confrontation came, it was swift and brutal. The guards detected something wrong with the infiltration team's movements and challenged them. Lisa gave the signal, and the humans activated their disruption devices. The effect was immediate. The Voidwalkers' armor froze, their weapons powered down, and for crucial seconds they were vulnerable. Human weapons, enhanced with alien technology, cut them down before they could recover. Alarms began to sound throughout the structure. "We've been compromised," Lisa barked into her comm. "James, we need a direct route to the control hub, now." "3 levels up, central chamber," he replied. "But you'll face heavy resistance. The entire complex is going on lockdown." Lisa looked at her team. 3 were injured, 1 fatally. "We moved fast, we hit hard, no hesitation." They fought their way upward, using their disruption technology to create windows of opportunity. Voidwalker troops fell before them, but the humans suffered losses too. By the time they reached the final approach to the control hub, only Lisa and 4 others remained. "Tom," she called through the comm. "We're almost there. The virus ready?" "Ready," he confirmed. "Just get it into any console in the main control room." The doors to the control hub were sealed. One of the team placed explosive charges while the others prepared for a final push. "On my mark," Lisa said. "Weapons ready. 3, 2, 1. The doors blew inward. The humans charged through the smoke, disruption fields at maximum strength. Inside, a dozen Voidwalkers worked at strange, flowing consoles that seemed alive with energy. At the center stood one larger than the rest, clearly a leader. The leader spoke, and to everyone's surprise, it was in perfect English. "Humans, you should have knelt when you had the chance." "We don't kneel," Lisa replied, firing her weapon. "We fight." The battle was chaotic and desperate. The elite Voidwalkers recovered from disruption faster than any they had fought before. The humans used everything they had: alien weapons, disruption fields, and pure determination. Lisa took a hit to her shoulder but kept moving toward the central console. One by one, her teammates fell, buying her the seconds she needed. When she reached the console, she slammed Tom's device onto its surface. The Voidwalker leader lunged for her, but it was too late. The device activated, sending the virus surging through the network. The console flickered, then glowed bright red. Throughout the room, systems began to fail. "What have you done?" the leader demanded. Lisa smiled through her pain. "We've burned your empire to dust." On the reckoning, James watched as the virus spread through the Voidwalker network. Jump points across the galaxy began to collapse. Control signals to occupied worlds, including Earth, went silent. The entire empire, built over thousands of years, unraveled in minutes. "Captain Reed," he called through the comm. "The virus is working. Their entire network is collapsing. What's your status?" Static answered him. Then faintly, "Mission accomplished. Get our people home." "Lisa, we're coming for you." "No." Her voice came stronger now. "I've set the central hub to overload. The entire planet's defense grid is about to fail. Get the ship out of here and tell Earth we won." James wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. "Understood, Captain. Your brother would be proud." As the reckoning broke free from its docking bay, the Voidwalker defenses began to fire randomly. Their coordination lost. Behind them, the massive central tower glowed with building energy. The ship made an emergency jump just as the explosion began, a chain reaction that would sweep across the Voidwalker homeworld. 1 month later, President Morgan addressed the people of Earth. The Voidwalker ships had fallen silent, their troops in disarray. Without the central network, they had become isolated units that could be defeated one by one. "Today we remember the brave crew of the Reckoning," she said solemnly. "They took our fight to the stars and struck a blow for freedom, not just for Earth, but for countless worlds across the galaxy." She gestured to the representatives standing beside her, beings from a dozen different planets who had arrived in ships of their own design. The Voidwalkers told humanity to kneel. Instead, we rose up. We fought. and we have forged new bonds with civilizations we never knew existed. Today marks not just our victory, but the beginning of humanity's true place among the stars. High, above Earth, the Reckoning, now commanded by James Walker, prepared for its next mission. Not for war this time, but for exploration. The stars beckoned, full of both danger and promise. And humanity, having refused to kneel, now stood taller than ever before. The space around the remote asteroid field was quiet, too quiet for Commander Tak's liking. His antennae twitched nervously as he stared at the main screen of the Confederation scout ship Seeker. "Confirm those readings again," he ordered, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of stress among his species. Officer Lim, the ship's sensor expert, ran her tentacles over the control panel once more. "Confirmed, Commander. The unknown vessel is holding position behind the largest asteroid. Power signatures do not match any known design in our database." Tak clicked his mandibles together. After 20 cycles of service in the Galactic Confederation's Exploration Corps, he had learned to trust his instincts. Something about this situation felt wrong. "All stop," he commanded. "Maintain sensor lock, but keep our distance. Send the standard greeting package on all frequencies." The bridge crew worked in silence. The Seeker was the best in the Confederation fleet, a sleek blue-hulled vessel designed for first contact situations. Its crew represented 5 different species, all chosen for their diplomatic skills and quick thinking. "No response to our greeting, Commander," reported Communications Officer Drill, her crystalline body shimmering with concern. Tak stood up from his command chair. "Magnify the image." The main screen changed to show a closer view of the mystery ship. It was unlike anything Tak had ever seen. A bulky, angular vessel with odd protrusions and what appeared to be crude armor plating. No elegant curves or biological integration like Confederation designs. This ship looked functional. Brutally so. "Analysis?" Tak asked. Science Officer Plex floated forward, his gas-filled body pulsing with thought patterns. "Most unusual, Commander. The hull material appears extremely dense. And these readings..." His voice trailed off. "What is it?" Tak pressed. "The internal environment of the vessel, sir. It should be impossible. The radiation levels alone would kill most known species. Temperature and pressure readings are extreme. Atmospheric composition includes elements toxic to nearly all Confederation races." A chill ran through the room. Every crew member knew what that meant. "A death world species," whispered Officer Lim. Tak felt his exoskeleton tighten. Death. Worlds were rare. Planets with conditions so harsh that evolution took a brutal, efficient path. Species from such worlds were dangerous, unpredictable. The Confederation had encountered only a few in its long history, and those encounters rarely ended peacefully. "Run a classification analysis," Tak ordered. Plex worked quickly, his gaseous form swirling faster with agitation. "Commander, the reading suggests Class 15. A stunned silence fell over the bridge. Class 15, the highest designation in the Confederation threat scale. A world so deadly that most scientists believed intelligent life could not evolve there. "There must be an error," Tak said firmly. "Recalibrate and scan again." "Sir," interrupted Officer Drill, "the vessel is hailing us." Tak straightened his owl. Uniform. First contact procedures were clear. Despite his concerns, the Confederation valued peaceful interaction above all else. "On screen," he ordered. The screen remained blank, but a voice came through, speaking perfect galactic standard. "Confederation vessel, this is Maintenance Technician Jack Wilson of the independent mining ship Persistence. You folks need something? You've been staring at us for the past 20 minutes. The casual tone left the bridge crew stunned. Tak recovered first. "This is Commander Tak of the Galactic Confederation Ship Seeker. We detected your vessel and attempted standard greeting protocols." A laugh came through the speakers. "Oh, those beeps and whistles? Sorry about that, our commie." System filters out most non-human frequencies as noise. Force of habit from working near pulsars. TAC's antennae stiffened. Non-human? You identify as human? Last time I checked, the voice replied. Look, we're in the middle of some routine maintenance. If you're not here to claim salvage rights on this asteroid field, we're all good. Right? Science Officer Plex floated closer to TAC. Commander, humans are not registered in the Confederation database. This could be a first contact situation. TAC nodded. Mr. Wilson, we would like to request permission to send a diplomatic party to your vessel. There was a pause before the human responded. Sure, though I should warn you. We're running Earth normal conditions in here. Might be uncomfortable for you folks. Earth normal. TAC made a mental note of the likely homeworld designation. We will bring appropriate environmental gear, TAC assured him. Prepare to receive our shuttle in 1 standard hour. The boarding party consisted of TAC, Science Officer Plex, and Security Chief Mora, a reptilian with thick scales that offered better protection against harsh conditions. All three wore the most advanced environmental suits the Seeker could provide. As they approached in the shuttle, they got their first close look at the human vessel. It was even more primitive looking up close, covered in patches with visible welding seams and what appeared to be manual repair work. Their technology seems rudimentary, observed Mora. Yet they've achieved space travel and can communicate in our language, countered TAC. Never underestimate an unknown species. The shuttle docked with a clumsy thud against the human ship's airlock. After cycling through decontamination protocols, the inner door opened. The first sensation that hit them was the gravity, crushing and immediate. TAC felt his legs strain against the force despite his suit's compensators. The next was the heat, uncomfortable even through their protection. And there, standing casually in the airlock without any environmental gear, was a human. TAC's first impression was of surprising fragility. The creature was bipedal, with no protective exoskeleton, no obvious defensive capabilities. It had patches of fur on parts of its head, but otherwise seemed terribly exposed. Only 2 eyes, no visible antennae or sensory organs. How could such a being survive on a Class 15 world? Welcome aboard, said the human, extending one of its upper limbs. I'm Jack, sorry about the mess, wasn't expecting company. TAC stared at the offered limb, uncertain of the protocol. Jack lowered his hand. Right, different customs. Come on in, I've cleared some space in the common area. He turned and walked away, clearly expecting them to follow. The Confederation team moved awkwardly in the heavy gravity, their suits whirring with the effort of keeping them mobile. The interior of the ship was a shock. Tools floated in secured nets, panels were open exposing circuitry, and containers of what Plex's scanner identified as highly corrosive chemicals sat casually on workbenches. The air, which Jack breathed freely, would have dissolved TAC's respiratory system in seconds. They reached a small room with mismatched furniture. Jack gestured toward some reinforced chairs. Have a seat if you'd like. Can I get you anything? Coffee? Water? He paused. Though I guess you're good in those suits, huh? Thank you, but we are adequately prepared, TAC replied formally. Mr. Wilson, may I ask how long humans have been traveling in this sector? Jack shrugged, a rolling motion of his upper body that the translator couldn't quite interpret. Me personally, about 3 years. Humanity in general? We've been poking around the stars for about 50 years now. Plex's gas body swirled in surprise. 50 years? Without contacting the Confederation? Jack smiled. No offense, but your Confederation seems like a lot of paperwork and politics. We humans tend to prefer just doing our own thing. And what thing is that? Asked Mora, the security chief's hand resting near her weapon. Whatever needs doing, Jack replied simply. Mining, exploration, science. This particular rock has some rare minerals we use for engine parts. TAC noticed something odd about the room. On the wall hung what appeared to be images of landscapes, but landscapes no sane being would consider hospitable. Boiling seas of lava, ice plains whipped by toxic storms, jagged mountains under radiation-blasted skies. Are these artistic representations? Tak asked, pointing to the images. Jack glanced at them. Nah, just some vacation photos. That's Yellowstone, that's Antarctica during a nice winter day, and that's just outside Dubai during summer. He smiled with what appeared to be fond memories. Nothing like hiking through Death Valley to clear your head, you know? The Confederation team exchanged glances through their faceplates. These vacation destinations would kill most known sentient beings within minutes. And suddenly, Tak understood why the human showed no fear, no concern about their presence. To a species that evolved on a Class 15 death world, very little in the galaxy would seem truly threatening. The implications were both fascinating and terrifying. Director Noor paced the length of the Confederation Council chamber, her slender form casting a long shadow across the polished floor. The emergency session had been called within hours of receiving Commander Tak's report, and now all 12 members of the High Council sat in uncomfortable silence. "Play the recording again," she ordered, her voice sharp with tension. The holographic display in the center of the circular chamber flickered to life. Commander Tak's image appeared, his exoskeleton visibly stressed even through the environmental suit. "High Council, my team has confirmed our initial findings," Tak's recorded voice reported. "The humans originate from a planet they call Earth, a world with conditions that would be lethal to 98% of Confederation species. Gravity at 9.8 units, oxygen levels that would cause toxic reactions in most lungs, radiation from their sun that would damage genetic material of unprotected beings, and temperature swings of over 150 standard units across their planet's surface." The council members shifted uneasily in their seats. "Most concerning," Tak continued, "is the casual manner in which these humans approach what we would consider extreme danger. During our visit to their ship, the human Jack Wilson handled bare-handed what our sensors identified as acids strong enough to dissolve metal. When asked about it, he simply showed us what he called minor chemical burns on his outer tissue, injuries that would be life-threatening to most of us." Director Noor paused the recording. "This cannot be overstated, council members. We are potentially dealing with a Class 15 death world species that has been traveling our space undetected for decades." Councillor Vrim, whose crystalline body sparkled under the chamber lights, spoke first. "How is this possible? Our survey ships would have located their homeworld." "According to the human," Noor replied, "Earth was charted by our ancestors over 500 years ago and classified as uninhabitable. No follow-up surveys were ever conducted, because the initial readings suggested no chance of intelligent life evolving there." A murmur ran through the chamber. The oldest council member, Zoe, leaned forward on his hover platform. His species was ancient, with memories dating back thousands of years. "I recall the designation," Zoe said slowly. "System 47329B. The survey. Team reported extreme conditions, crushing gravity, violent weather patterns, unstable tectonics, aggressive predators, and high background radiation. They recommended a permanent quarantine." "Which was clearly ineffective," noted Councillor Fast, tapping her claws nervously on the table. Director Noor nodded grimly. "The humans have not only survived their world, they've mastered space travel with what appears to be relatively primitive technology. The implications are concerning." The chamber fell silent as the council members contemplated what this meant. Most intelligent species in the Confederation had evolved on gentle worlds, stable environments that allowed for the development of philosophy, art, and science without the constant pressure of survival. The few death world species they had encountered were primitive, aggressive, and usually self-destructed before achieving space travel. But humans had done the impossible, and they had been watching the Confederation unnoticed for years. "We must establish formal diplomatic contact immediately," said Councillor Vrim, "before they perceive our lack of awareness as weakness." Director Noor nodded. "I've already selected Diplomat Mira for this mission. Her species is among our most adaptable, and she has experience with unusual first contact scenarios." Diplomatic measures are prudent, agreed Zoe. But we must also prepare for less favorable outcomes. A species forged in such harsh conditions may not share our commitment to peaceful coexistence. Noor hesitated before responding. I have discreetly instructed Military Commander Rex to develop containment protocols, just as a precaution. Several council members looked uncomfortable with this approach, but none objected outright. How many of these humans are there? Asked Councillor Fass. Director Noor's expression grew even more serious. According to what the human Jack told Commander Tuck, billions. The word hung heavy in the air. Most Confederation member species, numbered in the millions at most, their populations carefully balanced with their environments. Billions of Death World survivors was almost unthinkable. The briefing continues, Noor said, resuming the recording. Commander Tuck's image continued. The human claims they have colonies on multiple worlds in their home system, as well as outposts in at least 5 neighboring systems. None of these appear in our official records, suggesting they may be using some form of stealth technology, or perhaps operating in regions we consider too hazardous for routine patrols. This meeting is now classified at the highest security level, Director Noor announced when the recording finished. We must proceed carefully. If humans truly are as resilient as they appear, they could pose an unprecedented challenge to Confederation security. 3 days later, aboard the Confederation diplomatic vessel Harmony, Diplomat Mira received her final briefing from Director Noor via secure transmission. Remember, Noor emphasized, her holographic image flickering slightly. Your official mission is to establish peaceful relations and invite Earth to join the Confederation. Under no circumstances are you to reveal our concerns about their physiological capabilities. Mira nodded, her forearms completing the formal gesture of understanding. Her species, the Talon, were known for their adaptability to different environments, though even she would need an environmental suit to survive what humans called room temperature. And the unofficial mission? She asked quietly. Assess their true capabilities and intentions, Noor replied. Commander Rex will accompany you, ostensibly as a security attachment. His real purpose is to evaluate their military potential. Mira's skin changed color slightly, showing her discomfort with the deception. And Dr. Ben, our foremost xenobiologist. He will study how these humans function in conditions that should, by all our understanding, be lethal. The findings could be crucial for our future security planning. The transmission ended, leaving Mira alone with her thoughts. In her centuries of diplomatic service, she had never faced a situation quite like this. Most first contacts were with fragile, newly spacefaring species seeking the Confederation's protection. Never had they encountered a species that might not need protection at all. Meanwhile, aboard the human vessel Dauntless, Admiral Tom reviewed the message from the Confederation for the 3rd time. They're sending a diplomatic team, he told the officers gathered in the ship's conference room, including military and scientific personnel. Captain Will, a veteran of the Mars conflicts, crossed his arms. Took them long enough to notice us. We've been watching their ships pass through this sector for the past 15 years. Should we be concerned? Asked Dr. Lisa, the ship's chief medical officer. Our intelligence suggests their technology exceeds ours in several areas. Admiral Tom leaned back in his chair, considering the question. At 60 years old, he had spent most of his life in space, watching humanity's quiet expansion among the stars. He had always known this day would come, when their solitary exploration would intersect with the larger galactic community. Their tech might be more advanced, he said finally, but their mindset isn't. Their reports suggest they see us as something dangerous, a Death World species, they call us. He smiled slightly. They're not wrong in a way. Earth forged us through millions of years of survival challenges they never faced. So what's our approach? Asked Captain Will. Admiral Tom stood up and walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. After a moment of thought, he turned back to his officers with a decision that would forever change humanity's place in the galaxy. We invite them to Earth, he said simply. The room erupted in surprised comments. Sir, protested the security chief, our homeworld defenses Won't be necessary, Tom interrupted. We're not fighting a war here, we're making a point. He smiled again, more broadly this time. Let them see firsthand what humans consider normal. Let them understand that what they fear about us is exactly what will make us valuable allies. Turned back to the viewport, his expression thoughtful. Besides, he added quietly, they should know what they're dealing with before they do something foolish. Earth has never fallen to invaders. I'd hate for the Confederation to learn that lesson the hard way. Diplomat Mira stood at the viewing port of the Confederation shuttle, watching as the massive human vessel grew larger against the backdrop of stars. The Dauntless, as the humans called it, lacked the elegant biomechanical design of Confederation ships. Instead, it was all hard angles and practical function, a brutal testament to the species that built it. Quite ugly, isn't it? Said Commander Rex, coming to stand beside her. His armored exoskeleton clicked softly as he moved. Different, Mira corrected him. Their aesthetic values likely evolved from different needs than ours. Dr. Ben floated, up behind them, his gas-filled body glowing with nervous energy. I still can't believe we're actually going to their homeworld. The data we'll collect will be revolutionary. The Confederation team consisted of 12 members, Diplomat Mira as leader, Commander Rex with 4 security officers, Dr. Ben and 2 other scientists, and 3 communication specialists. All wore the most advanced environmental protection suits ever designed, capable of withstanding conditions far beyond what any normal mission would require. Remember the briefing, Mira said quietly. Show no fear no matter what you witness. These humans must not perceive weakness. The shuttle docked with a gentle thud against the human ship. After a series of mechanical sounds, the airlock door slid open to reveal a tall human male in a crisp blue uniform, decorated with small metal symbols. Welcome aboard the Dauntless, the human said with a slight bow. I'm Admiral Tom, Earth Defense Force. We're honored to host the first official Confederation delegation to human space. Mira stepped forward, performing the formal 12-tentacled greeting of the Confederation. The honor is ours, Admiral. I am Diplomat Mira, and these are my colleagues. After introductions, Admiral Tom led them through the ship's corridors. Unlike the confined spaces of Confederation vessels, the human ship featured wide hallways and high ceilings, a surprising luxury in space design. We've prepared a special section of the ship for your comfort, Admiral Tom explained. The environmental controls have been adjusted to match Confederation standard conditions. That's very considerate, Mira replied, noting the apparent thoughtfulness. Most emerging species wouldn't have considered such accommodations. It's no trouble, the Admiral said with a smile, though I should mention that the rest of the ship maintains Earth normal conditions. If you wish to explore beyond your quarters, your environmental suits will be necessary. As they passed a large viewport, Commander Rex suddenly stopped. Outside, a team of humans was working on the ship's exterior, wearing only thin suits that could barely be called protective. One worker actually had his helmet off, holding it under his arm while he welded a panel with his free hand. He was exposed to the vacuum of space with nothing covering his head, yet seemed perfectly comfortable. Is that worker in danger? Rex asked, failing to hide his shock. Admiral Tom glanced outside. Oh, that's just Max. He's testing our new emergency repair suits. They generate a small force field around the head that holds in breathable air. 15-minute oxygen supply, but it's enough for quick fixes. He's breathing in space, Dr. Ben said, his gaseous form swirling rapidly with excitement. Only for short periods, Admiral Tom clarified, as if that somehow made the feat less extraordinary. We're still working out some issues with radiation protection, so we don't recommend longer exposures yet. The Confederation team exchanged glances through their helmet visors. What the humans considered a technical limitation would be a revolutionary advancement for most species. The journey to Earth would take 4 days at standard speed. On the second day, Mira requested a tour of the ship's facilities. Admiral Tom agreed readily, assigning Captain Will as their guide. This is our recreation level, Captain Will explained as they entered a large open area. Various humans were engaged in different activities, some lifting heavy weights, others sparring in designated circles, and a few swimming in a pool of clear liquid. "Is that water?" asked Dr. Ben, floating closer to the pool. "Pure H2O? "Yes," Captain Will confirmed. "Why do you ask?" Dr. Ben's body pulsed with concern. "But water is highly corrosive to most carbon-based life. How can they immerse themselves in it?" Captain Will laughed. "Our bodies are mostly water. It's essential for our survival." The revelation sent ripples of discomfort through the Confederation team. A species that not only survived exposure to a universal solvent, but was actually composed of it? The implications were disturbing. As they continued the tour, they passed what Captain Will called the emergency training room. Inside, humans, in minimal protective gear, moved through corridors filled with actual fire, toxic gas, and what appeared to be harmful radiation. "This is a drill for vacuum exposure after hull breach," Will explained casually. "We run these scenarios daily." "These conditions would kill most species instantly," Commander Rex observed, unable to hide his military assessment. "That's kind of the point of training," Will replied with a shrug. "If it can't kill you, you're not learning anything useful." The captain's words hung in the air, a chilling reminder of how differently humans viewed danger. On the third day, disaster struck. The ship encountered a stellar storm, a massive wave of radiation and charged particles that hit without warning. Alarms blared throughout the vessel, and the Confederation delegates were quickly ushered to a secure room. "Will the ship's shields hold?" Mira asked anxiously as they huddled in the protected chamber. Before anyone could answer, the ship's lighting flickered, then stabilized. The translator in Mira's suit struggled to keep up with the rapid communications between crew members outside. "Shield Generator 3 is down," came a human voice over the intercom. "Engineering teams to Deck C. Radiation levels rising in sectors 4 through 7. Commander Rex activated his suit sensors. "The radiation out there is at least 50 times what most Confederation species could survive, even with protection." Minutes later, the door opened, and a human crew member entered without any environmental gear. His skin showed signs of reddening, like a mild burn. "Admiral sends his apologies for the inconvenience," the human said casually. "We've had to reroute power from your environmental controls to strengthen the remaining shields. It might get a bit warm in here for the next hour." A bit warm turned out to be an increase of nearly 20 degrees, well within the range of their suit's capabilities, but shocking that the humans would consider such a drastic change minor. "Are the repair teams safe?" asked Dr. Ben. "The radiation levels we're detecting." "Oh, they'll be fine," the crew member interrupted. "Might need some meds for radiation exposure afterward, but nothing serious. This isn't even close to our safety limits." After the human left, Mira turned to her colleagues. "This is what Director Noor feared. What appears life-threatening to us is merely inconvenient to them." By the time they reached Earth orbit on the 4th day, the Confederation team had witnessed a dozen more examples of human resilience. They had seen crew members handle materials bare-handed that would burn through Confederation protective gear. They had observed humans consuming foods that contained compounds toxic to most other species. They had even watched a training exercise where humans deliberately exposed themselves to vacuum conditions to practice emergency protocols. But nothing prepared them for their first view of Earth itself. The planet hung in space, a blue-white sphere mottled with swirling storm systems and vibrant continents. Where most life-bearing worlds known to the Confederation were placid and stable, Earth was visibly dynamic, weather patterns shifting even as they watched, oceans churning with massive currents, entire regions glowing with electrical storms. "Home sweet home," Admiral Tom said proudly as the delegates stared in stunned silence. "We'll be landing at the Pacific Northwestern Spaceport. The weather is particularly mild there this time of year. Should be comfortable even in your suits." "What do you consider mild, Admiral?" Mira asked carefully. "Oh, just light rain, temperatures around 15 Celsius. Normal gravity, of course. Nothing extreme." Dr. Ben's sensors were already going wild with readings. Admiral, those conditions would be considered survival-level emergency situations on most Confederation worlds. Admiral Tom looked genuinely surprised. Really? But that's practically pleasant weather. He paused, seeming to reconsider something. Perhaps we should arrange a more controlled environment for your first visit to the surface. We have biodomes that can be adjusted to your needs. That would be appreciated, Mira said quickly before any of her team could object. She needed to observe these humans in their natural habitat, but she also needed her team alive to report what they found. As the ship began its descent through Earth's turbulent atmosphere, Mira couldn't help but wonder if the Confederation had made a terrible mistake in not discovering humans sooner. What other surprises might this Deathworld species have in store? For the first time in her long diplomatic career, she felt genuine fear about what lay ahead. The Confederation shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere with a constant vibration that set the delegates' nerves on edge. Outside the reinforced windows, lightning flashed through angry clouds, and rain lashed against the hull with surprising force. Just a small storm system, the human pilot said cheerfully. Nothing to worry about. Diplomat Mira exchanged glances with Commander Rex. What humans considered small had already registered as catastrophic on their environmental sensors. The shuttle broke through the cloud layer, revealing the landscape below. The Pacific Northwestern spaceport was built on a flat plain surrounded by towering mountains. Rivers cut through the terrain, and dense forests of tall green plants covered much of the land. To human eyes, it might have appeared peaceful. To the Confederation delegates, it was a scene of barely contained chaos. Atmospheric analysis complete, Dr. Ben reported, his gaseous form swirling nervously in his containment suit. Oxygen levels at 21%, toxic to 7 known Confederation species. Nitrogen at 78%, harmful to 5 species. Various contaminants including water vapor at levels that would cause respiratory failure in most beings. And this is what they breathe naturally, Commander Rex noted, his military mind already calculating the implications. Their shuttle landed on a designated pad, where a human delegation waited under the open sky. The humans wore no protection against the rain that fell steadily around them, only simple cloth coverings that were becoming visibly wet. "They're allowing the water to touch their skin," one of the science team whispered in horror. Admiral Tom, who had traveled down ahead of them, stepped forward as the shuttle door opened. "Welcome to Earth," he said proudly. "I hope your journey was comfortable." "Quite educational," Diplomat Mira replied carefully. The Confederation team hesitated at the shuttle doorway. Their sensors showed conditions outside that would require the highest level of their environmental protection. Cautiously, they activated their suit's force field enhancements and stepped onto Earth's surface. Even through the technology designed to mitigate alien environments, they could feel the crushing pull of Earth's gravity. It was significantly stronger than anything they had evolved to withstand, making each step an effort. "We've prepared the Environmental Adaptation Center for your comfort," said a female human who introduced herself as Dr. Emma, Earth's leading xenobiologist. "You'll be able to observe our world while remaining in safer conditions." The center turned out to be a massive transparent dome filled with adjustable environments. Once inside, the delegates were led to a section where the conditions had been altered to match Confederation standards: lower gravity, filtered air, and comfortable temperature ranges. "You can remove your suits here if you wish," Dr. Emma suggested, though many visitors prefer to keep them on for their first Earth visit. Commander Rex kept his suit sealed, but Diplomat Mira decided to extend a diplomatic gesture by removing her helmet. The air tasted strange but tolerable, processed to remove the more harmful elements. "Now," Admiral Tom said, "we've arranged a tour schedule that should give you a comprehensive understanding of Earth and humanity. We'll start with a virtual overview, then move to—" He was interrupted by a sudden tremor that shook the entire building. The Confederation delegates froze in terror as the floor beneath them vibrated. Warning alarms blared from their suits' sensors. "Tectonic shift," Dr. Ben exclaimed, his body contracting into a defensive ball. "The planet's crust is moving." The humans, by contrast, barely reacted. Admiral Tom glanced at a data pad handed to him by an aide. "Just a small earthquake, magnitude 4.2, he said casually. "Nothing to be concerned about. The building is designed to handle much stronger events." "You mean this happens regularly?" Commander Rex asked, his combat reflexes still on high alert. "Oh yes. This region experiences hundreds of minor tremors annually. The really interesting ones are magnitude 7 or higher, but those only happen every few years." The delegates stared at him in disbelief. On their worlds, any planetary instability would trigger immediate evacuation protocols. Dr. Emma, noticing their distress, tried to reassure them. "Perhaps we should continue with the presentation. We can explain how Earth's geological activity actually benefits life here." The meeting moved to a conference room where humans served food and drinks, all safely processed for Confederation consumption. As Admiral Tom began his presentation on Earth's history, another tremor struck, stronger than the first. Glasses tipped over, spilling liquid across the table. A decorative plant fell from a shelf, its container breaking on the floor. The humans simply steadied their own items, wiped up spills, and continued their conversations without pause. "Please excuse the interruption," Admiral Tom said, picking up the fallen plant. "As I was saying, humans evolved on Earth over millions of years, adapting to its constantly changing conditions." Diplomat Mira could barely focus on his words. Her species prized stability above all things. Their homeworld hadn't experienced significant geological activity in 10,000 years. Yet these humans lived on a planet that shook itself apart regularly and considered it normal. During the lunch break, Dr. Ben approached Dr. Emma with questions that had been troubling him since their arrival. "I've been analyzing your biological readings," he said, his translator struggling to convey scientific terms. "Your cellular structure is unlike anything in our database. Your bodies appear to actually strengthen under stress conditions." Dr. Emma nodded. "That's correct. Human physiology operates on a principle of adaptive response. Our muscles grow stronger when damaged by exercise. Our immune systems become more effective after fighting pathogens. Even our bones increase density when subjected to gravity stress." "You get stronger from damage?" Dr. Ben's gas body pulsed with surprise. "Within limits, yes. We call it hormesis, the principle that moderate stress improves biological function." She smiled. "It's why we have sayings like, 'What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.'" Dr. Ben recorded everything, his scientific mind racing with implications. A species that improved through struggle would have a fundamentally different psychology than Confederation members, who evolved to avoid stress whenever possible. That evening, the human hosts organized what they called a state dinner to honor the Confederation delegation. The event was held in a grand hall with views of a mountain range, peaks so tall they contained multiple climate zones in a single formation. As the delegates tried to focus on diplomatic niceties, a sound like rolling thunder filled the room. The floor began to shake violently, causing decorations to fall and lights to flicker. "Earthquake!" someone shouted. "Magnitude 6.8. The Confederation team immediately activated emergency protocols, their suits enhancing to maximum protection. They watched in shock as the humans calmly moved to secure loose objects, guided guests away from windows, and continued their conversations under swaying light fixtures. Admiral Tom actually laughed as he caught a falling glass. "Perfect timing," he said to Diplomat Mira. "You get to experience a proper Pacific Northwest welcome." "You're not evacuating?" she asked incredulously. "For this? No need. The building is rated for magnitude 9.2 events." He gestured to the structure around them. "These support columns can flex up to 30 degrees without failing. The foundation is anchored 200 meters into bedrock." The shaking continued for nearly a minute, before gradually subsiding. When it ended, the humans simply straightened the furniture, picked up fallen items, and resumed the dinner as if nothing significant had happened. Diplomat Mira watched in stunned silence as Admiral Tom clinked a spoon against his glass to get attention. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored delegates," he announced, "please forgive nature's interruption. As I was about to say before our little geological event. We welcome the Confederation to Earth and look forward to a relationship that recognizes our different evolutionary paths as strengths rather than barriers. Commander Rex leaned close to Mira. Now I understand Director Noor's concerns, he whispered. A species that considers planetary upheaval a minor inconvenience would be unstoppable in combat. Dr. Ben joined them, his sensors still recording everything. It's not just their physical resilience, he added. I've been analyzing their neural responses. When exposed to conditions we find terrifying, their brains show patterns consistent with excitement. For humans, danger appears to be stimulating rather than frightening. As the dinner continued, Mira observed the humans more carefully. They laughed, argued, and formed connections easily, even with beings utterly unlike themselves. Their comfort with chaos extended beyond the physical realm. They seemed to thrive on the unpredictable. By the end of the night, she had reached a conclusion that would change the Confederation forever. Humans didn't just survive on their death world, they loved it. And that made them either the most valuable allies or the most dangerous enemies the galaxy had ever known. Director Noor stood motionless as the holographic presentation ended. The Confederation Council chamber had never been so quiet. For nearly 2 hours they had watched the reports from Earth, and now 24 eyes, tentacles, sensory organs, and various alien appendages turned toward her, waiting for guidance. The evidence is clear, Council Member Zoe said finally, breaking the silence. These humans are more dangerous than we initially feared. The reports from Diplomat Mira, Commander Rex, and Dr. Ben painted a disturbing picture. Humans not only survived conditions that would kill most Confederation species instantly. They deliberately sought out such dangers for what they called recreation. Their bodies actually grew stronger when damaged. Their technology, while less advanced in some areas, was built to withstand forces that would destroy Confederation equipment. I propose immediate containment protocols, said Council Member Fass, her claws clicking nervously on the table. We must establish a defensive perimeter around their territory before they expand further. Several council members nodded in agreement, but Councillor Vrim raised a crystalline limb in objection. The reports also indicate humans have shown no aggression toward our delegation. They have been open, even welcoming. A tactical decision, perhaps, countered Commander Dax, who had joined the meeting as military advisor. If I commanded a species with their capabilities, I would want potential adversaries to underestimate me as well. Director Noor finally spoke. The Confederation has existed for 12,000 years. In that time, we have encountered 17 Death World species. 15 destroyed themselves before achieving space travel. The other 2 became violent expansionists that we were forced to contain. Her voice grew quieter. But humans are different. They've achieved space travel without self-destruction and expanded without conquest. That we know of, Commander Dax interjected. Indeed, Noor acknowledged, which is why I've authorized Admiral Tom's invitation for the Confederation leadership to witness what he calls a demonstration of human capabilities. Murmurs of concern rippled through the chamber. What kind of demonstration? Asked Zoe cautiously. A simulated emergency on their lunar colony, Noor explained. Admiral Tom claims it will help us understand humanity's potential value to the Confederation. It could also be a trap, Commander Dax warned. Noor's expression hardened, which is why only I will attend along with a small security team. The rest of the council will observe via secure transmission. Despite numerous objections, the decision was made. 3 days later, Director Noor's personal vessel approached Earth's moon, a barren, airless satellite that humans had somehow transformed into a habitable outpost. The lunar base, Armstrong, was a sprawling complex of domes and underground facilities. Through the viewport of the landing bay, Director Noor could see the harsh lunar landscape, cratered, dusty, and bathed in unfiltered solar radiation. No atmosphere, extreme temperature swings, and constant bombardment by micrometeors. Yet humans had lived here continuously for over 40 years. Admiral Tom greeted her as she disembarked. Director, Thank you for coming. The demonstration is prepared. If you and your team will follow me to the observation room, we can begin. The observation room overlooked a large dome that contained what appeared to be a miniature Earth environment, plants, water, and structures. Admiral Tom explained the scenario as they took their seats. What you're about to witness is a Level 2 emergency response. We'll simulate a meteor strike on Dome Sector 7, causing atmospheric decompression, radiation exposure, structural damage, and potential nuclear containment failure. Director Noor's translator struggled to find appropriate terms for her reaction. You're deliberately creating a nuclear incident. A simulated one, Admiral Tom clarified. The reactor containment won't actually fail, but the response teams will act as if it might. Before she could object further, alarms blared throughout the facility. On a large screen, they watched as a controlled explosion breached the dome's outer shell. Air visibly rushed out, plants began to wither, and warning lights flashed everywhere. What happened next left Director Noor speechless. Human emergency teams rushed toward the disaster, not away from it. Some wore what appeared to be minimal protective gear, while others had no visible protection at all. They moved with practiced efficiency through conditions that would kill most Confederation species in seconds. Those people in the red suits have no oxygen supply, Admiral Tom narrated calmly. They can hold their breath for up to 4 minutes while performing emergency repairs in vacuum. On screen, humans physically lifted collapsed structural beams, working together to stabilize the dome. Others dragged injured people to safety, sometimes carrying 2 or 3 at once in the low lunar gravity. The team entering the reactor chamber will absorb approximately 50 times the radiation a Confederation being could survive, Admiral Tom continued. They'll need medical treatment afterward, but most will return to duty within 2 weeks. Director Noor watched as humans intentionally exposed themselves to what her species would consider certain death, all to save others of their kind. It defied every prediction the Confederation had made about Death World psychology. I don't understand, she admitted finally. Our models suggest Death World species should prioritize individual survival above all else. Yet these humans are deliberately risking death. Admiral Tom smiled slightly. That's because your models are based on a fundamental misunderstanding. We don't just survive on our Death World, we are shaped by it. Earth taught humanity a crucial lesson. Together, we are stronger than alone. As the demonstration concluded, Admiral Tom led Director Noor to a secure conference room. There he revealed information that changed everything. Director, humanity has encountered 3 other species from what you call Death Worlds, he said, activating a holographic display. Images appeared of alien beings with tough exoskeletons, powerful limbs, and formidable natural weapons. The Taurans from Proxima Centauri b, he explained, indicating a creature that resembled an Earth insect, but stood as tall as a human. The Dorvan from Kepler 442b, this being had thick armored skin and multiple limbs. And the Nexari from Wolf 1061c. The third species looked almost reptilian, with sharp claws and a powerful tail. All were considered too dangerous for contact by your Confederation, Admiral Tom continued. All were left to develop in isolation, and all are now part of a mutual defense alliance with humanity. Director Noor struggled to process the implications. You've built an alliance of Death World species? We prefer high-gravity adaptive species coalition, Admiral Tom replied. And yes, we've found that species who evolve in challenging environments share certain values: resilience, adaptability, and a strong preference for peaceful cooperation, despite having the biological tools for effective warfare. He leaned forward. Director, your Confederation has been avoiding the very species that could help you survive true catastrophes: supernovas, gamma-ray bursts, cosmic collisions. Events that would overwhelm your environmental technology, but that our species are literally born to endure. Director Noor was silent for a long moment. You're proposing an alliance between our organizations. More than that, Admiral Tom said. I'm proposing a fundamental shift in how the galaxy understands evolutionary paths. What you call death worlds have produced species with unique capabilities. Capabilities the Confederation needs. He activated another holographic display, showing incidents throughout Confederation history, ecological disasters, space station, failures, planetary emergencies where thousands had died, because no one could survive the conditions long enough to help. Now imagine human emergency teams responding to these situations, he suggested. Or Tauran engineers building structures that could withstand forces your materials can't. Or Dorvan scientists developing medicines that work at the cellular level your species can't even approach safely. As the conversation continued into the lunar night, Director Noor's perspective began to shift. The humans weren't a threat to be contained. They were protectors who could reach places in the universe no other advanced species could survive. 1 month later, the Galactic Confederation signed the first formal treaty with the High Gravity Adaptive Species Coalition. Under its terms, human emergency response teams would be stationed throughout Confederation space, ready to respond to disasters no other species could survive. In return, the Confederation would share its advanced technology and open trade relations with all coalition worlds. Both organizations would remain independent but allied, each recognizing the unique evolutionary advantages the other brought to the galaxy. As Director Noor watched the human delegation celebrate the treaty signing by opening bottles of what they called champagne, a liquid that contained enough alcohol to be used as industrial solvent on some Confederation worlds, she reflected on how thoroughly her assumptions had been challenged. The galaxy's most dangerous species had turned out to be its greatest protectors, and the Confederation, for all its advancement, had been humbled by beings from a world it had once dismissed as too hostile for intelligent life. The universe, it seemed, had a sense of irony after all.